But it's like, it's fine. I've got the music. I can just hit play myself. That's so interesting, though, the immersive stuff. I have such a weird, and anyone who regularly listens to this podcast knows I have a very tough relationship with the audience. As a leader of a sketch show, a person who has to buoy the, like, vibe of everybody, I a lot of times have to go, don't worry that they didn't laugh. They don't get it. We get it. Or like, hey, we've got to be proud of our work, not worried about whether or not it got them, they got it or not. Because, you do so many shows, sometimes it's a raucous fun time and everyone has and everyone's laughing and they leave, it's so great. But sometimes you do a show and you're like, we're amazing. And they're like, you're like, oh, I don't know why we didn't connect. So I have a tough time. Like, I'm always like, they're dumb, they don't get it. But I really need to connect with an audience in a better way. I'm fascinated by the immersive stuff. Feels like a lot of work. I mean, a lot of work I want to do.
Yeah.
But
shit ton of work.
But it's like, how do they... Tell me, so you went to the South by installation, or you went to Santa Fe, and you went to the place?
I've been to Santa Fe. I went to Meow Wolf in Santa Fe. Dragged some friends. I convinced some friends to go with me, and they all loved it. Two of my friends, and it was great. And didn't that answer your question? I'm sorry, I just get nerd out about Meow Wolf.
No, did you also go to the South by exhibit, or is it here and you haven't seen it yet?
They're doing a few different things. So they have like a VR thing, but right now what I'm taking part of, they have this kind of an ARG, this live role-playing game, and you listen to this online radio station, and this online radio station leads you to clues, and these clues lead you to get stamps from these Meow Wolf employees or volunteers. And I'm trying to fill up this passport with all of these stamps by all these threads that I'm trying to find throughout Austin.
Ooh.
And it feels like I'm talking with friends about, I'm texting my buddy Lee, and we're like, what do you think this means? Or there's might be a phone number that's on there's a phone number that was on this PDF, and when you call that number, it tells you to go to the soup peddler at lunchtime on a day. But you only found that out if you open up the PDF and to call the number.
Yeah.
And it feels like this immersive experience where you're taking part of this play, and that feels like so unique. And I think all the storytelling improv shows that they do is just hitting that, just a tip of that iceberg, where it feels like you're part of the show.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to do that through improv, and I've been trying to think about that a lot, of how can we bring in the audience or make it personal or make it unique for each person.
Well, I mean, it sounds like from that, though, that there's a lot of little details that, would have to be created. I mean, if you were to put it with improv, then it would seem that you would need to make that other stuff in the promo.
Yeah.
It would have to be, months ahead before you did some particular show and had people figuring stuff out. But I wonder, the fascinating thing to me is that people do it. Because the biggest thing, like I mentioned earlier, that the people who I love the most, the people who I think are the real performers, the real artists, are the ones who are out there doing it, accomplishing it, going through the yucky motions, making spreadsheets, making phone calls, doing
stuff.
all the boring stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people that I know who are like, I just don't want to do the boring stuff. And I was like, well, then you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Like you can't have your cake and eat it too. And I feel like that's a thing. Sometimes I try to, I don't know how old you are, so I'm sorry if I deeply offend you.
34.
Great, okay, I feel better. I was going to say, I feel like when you're in your 20s, you don't have the bandwidth for that. You don't have the bandwidth for accomplishing two tasks at once. Mm-hmm. One being having a great time doing this art, and the other being super organized and keeping everything in check. And yeah. I get it. It's wild to be in your 20s. It's a very difficult, I'm figuring out who I am time. But sometimes when I get involved with somebody and they just don't want to do half of the work, I'm like, I'm not interested in working with you.
Yeah. And they might not tell you that they don't want to do it.
Oh, no one will.
Yeah,
no,
it's just like Ghost.
Yeah, no,
like,
you have
come
to.
on, just
Well, you
tell
have
me.
to context clues from 1,000 things.
Yeah, I know.
You watch their when people show up to rehearsal.
Yes.
How ready are they to start? Do they bring the things that they said they were going to, like, in as far as prepared? Because I do sketch, so it's like, are you writing? If you're writing, you're my favorite. If you're not writing, we'll see. Like, we'll see how long you last. You know, because it's like, you have to do that. Yeah, writing is the hard part. I give you. I mean, if you go on stage and every time the audience loves everything you do, all right, you can not write. I accept that. But it's like, you have to be, and I feel like that with like people that are moving up. Because I feel like that's how you get, in fact, if/when you move to LA, that I think is one of the biggest things. And I've heard this on various other podcasts and other people that I know that do this kind of stuff. But it's like, if you don't put in the effort of like showing up to 1,000 auditions you're not going to get, or talking to a manager, or finding the right thing, or like keeping track of stuff, or like promoting your own self as a brand, or if you're a writer, getting work done, having stuff to hand in to people, having a solid packet. Like, if you're not doing that hard work, you're never going to get the fun stuff and the millions of dollars. Like, it's very rare. And also, some people are like, oh, well, you know, some people are just pretty and they get in there. Yeah, you think they then don't do work? No,
yeah, they have to.
Someone's, you know, whoever it is that's pretty and in a movie, yeah, they also like probably eat with a nutritionist, work out every day. Someone's telling them they don't look good because they need to like be this perfect specimen of a human. Like, you think when the hottest people you've ever seen on TV that they're not putting effort into that? Get out of here. There were 7 people that made the hair and the makeup and the outfit and the told her how to stand. Like, nobody. Are you kidding me? No. Like, oh, I wish I was Beyonce. No, you fucking don't. She only wakes up at like 4 a.m. to jog 16 miles, and then they give her like a berry and go, there you go, there's your food for the day. Like, get out of here with that. Like, no. I don't know. It's a very interesting thing.
And also, only one person can be Beyonce. That's Beyonce.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, her mother knew what she was doing when she named her.
Yeah.
But isn't that funny that people don't name their kids Beyonce? That's like, no one names their kids. It's not a thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's so fascinating. Because I'm sure I thought about when like Game of Thrones came out, all those names. I was like, oh yeah, people are going to be naming their kids like, you know.
White Walker.
Yeah, exactly. Jon Snow.
Jon Snow, yeah.
Yeah, that's their names.
Breaker of chains.
Yeah, that's there's like 6 kids in this one preschool class just named Breaker of Chains. One poor kid, his name's Hodor. It's very difficult.
Yeah. He's good at one thing.
He's great. They use him a lot. Now, as far as the like immersive stuff goes, I feel like, I don't know, it might have to be a scripted thing, or maybe like half and half. You know what I mean? Like, part of it is, you know, maybe the paths are almost like sketch prov, where it's like, okay, you have to get from A to B, but how you get there is your own deal. Punching the mic. But like, whatever way that you do it, I feel like, in fact, speaking of, we were talking about Aaron Walther earlier, I think he and Justin Strackney made an immersive show at T&M a few years ago, and it was, I don't remember exactly how it was, but people really loved it. They like covered the lobby with stuff, and they had characters like as soon as you walked in the door to like interact with, and then the whole space was like a part of it. So the show started like pretty much as soon as you were in the space, which makes it fascinating. But I don't know. I like that idea a lot. I like the idea of building something. The thing that I think most fascinates me is that people actually do it. That Meow Wolf and Sleep No More have people that go to them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it's a great experience once you go, but like, so's an improv class, and I'm still always going like, come on, take a class.
Yeah.
Like, people don't know what's good for them, and people also don't usually do what's good for them, so it seems surprising that these would go well.
Yeah, and trying to pitch these ideas and convincing my friends to go visit Meow Wolf with me trying to explain it, like, it's so hard to explain because they're like personal experiences. And like, someone trying to tell me to do Sleep No More, they were like, yeah, it's a interactive Macbeth. I was like, but then I went, it blew my fucking mind.
I I bet you that one totally started with someone trying to defy the theater gods by saying
totally.
Macbeth in a theater.
Yeah.
Like, they're all like, you know what? I hate that rule. You know what we're going to do? We're going to screw that rule. And then they're like, cool. And then the brainstorm meeting went way down the rabbit hole. And they're like, this is a good idea. I wonder if it's easier to use I'd be fascinated to talk to the people who created Sleep No More and the people who created Meow Wolf to see what inspired them. Was it like role-playing games, like you're saying, or is it like, is it video games, like the kind of video games where you go on an adventure, or even, I wonder, because there's like Sims, you like build a world. I wonder if you could do that in real life. I guess not. Maybe. I don't know. It'd be interesting to like try to create a world where people can live a life they haven't lived. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm very inspired by this idea, and I read about it, so I'm glad that you're telling me about it, because I thought that's what it was, but, like you said, in words, it can be difficult to explain.
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea, is you have people create these Sims, and they're, like, building these characters, and they build them for 2 months, and it all, like, coalesces to, like, a show that happens at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Where they're, like, finding these clues or having these, reading these poems that give the characters experience, and then the audience brings those characters to the show, and those personalized characters get to interact with the cast, so to speak.
Yeah, maybe. That would involve the audience wanting to be performers as well, though.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult thing, is like a lot of people just want to witness it.
Just want to like show up and just like entertain me.
I think about that, though, with reference to like the internet and the way that we have sort of 24/7 access to anything that we want to watch or be part of. Like, you can watch the news all day long if you want, or you can watch cartoons. It doesn't matter. You have it available to you. And I wonder if that sort of, the fact that our art consumption is like that, like, it makes this style exactly what makes sense to our brains. Like, we're so used to the cacophony that it's almost harder for us to deal with the silence than it is if there's 47 things happening all around us, or there's like 67 clues we have to get through just to get a ticket.
Yeah.
Like, so interesting.
But then maybe that hard work pays off for that person. And the people who are immersed are the people who want to be there. And so you're kind of removing any of the chaff of the audience who don't want to take part. But you have to convince people to play or to go.
Yeah. Man, it would be fascinating to find out, like, how long it took before people, like, really started going to these two things. Like, it was like, was it a year, 6 years? Was it 6 months? Was it 1 month? And then it just spread like wildfire.
I got to take part and listen to the Meow Wolf panel because they have a movie about their origin story, and they said they didn't.
Oh, that's the documentary that's happening at South by Southwest Film.
Yeah.
Sorry, I gotta write that down. Not that I'm gonna see it, but I'm sure it'll become available after.
It's all good. But to your question, how long it took, I know that they did not make any money for 78 years.
I'm sorry, what?
They did not make any money for 7 to 8 years.
7 to 8. Okay, great.
Not 78.
I was like, this has been a 78-year project? I was like, imagine your grandfather's like, so, Matthew, this is what you're going to do now because it's the family project.
Fuck you, I want to smoke cigarettes and drive the Malibu.
You can, but you need to do it within this theater space.
Okay.
Man, 7 or 8 years before they made any money. I mean, I guess it's not like any of us are making any money.
Yeah.
So, valid. But, whoa. Yeah, because I bet you there's a lot of money that goes into... Well, no, I mean, if it's a PDF online and a phone number, that's easy enough to accomplish.
Yeah, but then you have to create the PDF, create the phone number, that the bot that responds to that phone number, and you have to say, if that's a clue, you have to think about all those clues.
You have to tell Soup Peddler people are going to be there on this day.
And then someone has to be at the Soup Peddler.
Yeah, to receive those people and say, don't forget to buy a juice before you leave. They get mad when we hang out in their parking lot.
Right. Right.
You're like, you can only speak to me if you have a juice in your hand.
Okay.